The intelligence about the possible involvement of Indian agents in the murder of pro-Khalistan leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar came from the Five Eyes network. US Ambassador to Canada David Cohen said this in an interview. The Five Eyes network includes the US, Britain, Australia, New Zealand and Canada. Cohen said, and I quote, "There was a lot of communication between Canada and the United States about this." Meanwhile, Canadian Defence Minister Bill Blair has said that relations with India are important. However, Blair added that he wants a thorough investigation into the allegations. Meanwhile, protests have erupted in India's capital, New Delhi. A group called the United Hindu Front staged a protest against Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. They accused Trudeau of supporting Khalistan separatists. Tensions between India and Canada have escalated since last week. This was after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said there were credible allegations linking Indian government agents to the murder of Nijjar. The US has agreed to jointly produce weapons with Ukraine. This is according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He said they will together produce weapons including air defense systems. Zelensky's comments came as Russian forces shelled Ukraine's Kherson region on Sunday. The airstrike injured at least 5 people and damaged buildings. Hundreds of Swedes took to the streets of the capital, Stockholm, over the weekend. They were protesting against the Swedish government's decision to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. The protesters waved signs that read, "Sweden doesn't need NATO for peace, NATO will only bring Sweden war." They said joining NATO could lead to nuclear weapons being deployed on Swedish soil. The demonstrators feared that it could increase the risk of a nuclear attack. A large crowd of protesters carried out a march in London over the weekend. They called on the British government to rejoin the European Union. The protesters expressed their dissatisfaction with the government and the country's dire economy. According to the latest data, Britain's economic growth rate in the second quarter was only 0.2%. Meanwhile, the inflation rate was as high as 6.3%. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that his country will end its military cooperation with Niger. France will pull its 1,500 troops out of the West African country by the end of this year. This comes after a military coup in Niger in July. Macron said he still regarded democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum as the country's legitimate leader. Bazoum is currently being held as a prisoner by the coup leaders. The Philippines has accused China's Coast Guard of installing a floating barrier. This is in a disputed area of the South China Sea called the Scarborough Shoal. Footage released by the Philippine Coast Guard showed several Chinese vessels near the barrier. Manila says this is preventing Filipino fishermen from entering the area. A group of about 30 heavily armed men opened fire at a Kosovan police station in the northern village of Banska on Sunday. One officer and 3 of the armed attackers have died in the shootout. These same armed men also stormed a nearby Serbian Orthodox monastery. This was the first major violent incident in the region since May. Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti has blamed Serbia-sponsored criminals for the violence. Iran and the Maldives have announced the resumption of their diplomatic relations after a 7-year hiatus. The announcement came after a meeting between the foreign ministers of both countries. They met on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. Israel has said that its forces raided the Nur Shams camp in the occupied West Bank on Sunday. 2 Palestinians were killed in the incident. The Israeli military said it was conducting counter-terrorism activity in the camp. It said that it dismantled an operational command center and uncovered dozens of explosive devices and bomb-making components during the raid. Tens of thousands of people marched in Tel Aviv over the weekend. This came as protests continued against the Israeli government's judicial overhaul plans. Meanwhile, the Israeli Supreme Court started hearing petitions challenging the overhaul plan earlier this month. Critics say the judicial overhaul plan limits the power of the country's Supreme Court and removes vital checks on the Israeli government's power. The mayor of El Paso in the U.S. state of Texas says that the city has been pushed to a quote-unquote breaking point. This is due to a surge in the number of migrants. More than 2,000 people arrive in El Paso every day seeking asylum. This is exceeding shelter capacity and straining resources. Visitors of an amusement park in Canada were stuck upside down in a malfunctioned ride on Saturday. They were stuck for nearly 30 minutes. Local media said that 2 of the visitors reported chest pain and a loss of feeling in their legs. The ride remained closed on Sunday for further investigation. In climate news, Canada is enduring its worst wildfire season on record. Over 166,000 square kilometers of land is already burnt. Last week, more than 1,000 fires were active across the country. Some 650 of them have been deemed out of control. Satellite images show wildfires in British Columbia and Alberta. Projections indicated a higher wildfire risk in September from the east of Alberta. Firefighters battled blazes in Italy's Sicily over the weekend. 2 people have reportedly died due to the fires. Hundreds of tourists were evacuated from a hotel in a well-known tourist area. Over 300 firefighters have been deployed to take control of the situation. Tropical storm Ophelia made landfall in the U.S. state of North Carolina over the weekend. The U.S. Atlantic coast witnessed heavy downpours and strong winds that caused flooding and widespread power outages. Nearly 8 million people across the American mid-Atlantic have been affected. A twister was seen in the U.S. state of South Dakota. This was the result of a severe thunderstorm. Local media said that the tornado moved with a speed of 16 kilometers per hour and it was capable of triggering heavy rainfall. No damage or injuries have been reported. A time-lapse video shows massive dark clouds rolling across a city in southern Brazil. The shelf cloud was seen over the skies of Caxias do Sul. Shelf clouds are wave-shaped clouds. They form when an area with higher ground temperatures encounters a layer of colder air. They're usually seen just before a storm. Climate activists from a group called Lost Generation tried to disrupt the Berlin Marathon on Sunday. Protesters spilled orange paint on the track. Lost Generation spokesperson said, and I quote, "We're sorry to prevent runners from participating in the marathon, but we are in an emergency situation." At least 8 protesters have been detained. A latest poll shows that only 22% of people in the UK trust Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to tackle the climate crisis. About 53% of the people don't trust Sunak, while 19% have no opinion on this. This poll comes days after Sunak announced that he will weaken the UK's net zero carbon emission policies. In business and tech news, one of China's central bank advisors said the country has limited room for further monetary policy easing. Liu Shijin says Beijing should pursue structural reforms rather than counting on macroeconomic policies to revive growth. Liu is also a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of China's central bank. He said, and I quote, "If China continues to focus on macro policies in its efforts to stabilize growth, there would be more and more side effects." A report says India will defer an import license requirement for laptops and tablets. This is reportedly after industry leaders and the US government complained about the move. The plan will be delayed by a year. In August, the Indian government announced a licensing regime for laptops and tablets. It is aimed at reducing India's dependence on imports and boosting local manufacturing. India's aviation authorities have said that they will not intervene in a dispute between local airline Akasa Air and its pilots. In recent weeks, over 40 of Akasa's 450 pilots quit without serving their notice period. The airline has sued some of them and challenged Indian authorities in court for their inaction over the matter. Akasa has also warned of a shutdown due to the crisis. Thailand is expected to receive an investment of at least $5 billion from Tesla, Google and Microsoft. This is according to the country's Prime Minister, Srettha Thavisin. Tesla is looking to build an electronic vehicle manufacturing facility. Meanwhile, Google and Microsoft will build data centers. However, Thavisan did not clarify whether it would be a combined investment or individual. American drugstore chain Rite Aid is reportedly negotiating with creditors over the terms of a bankruptcy plan. This will include liquidating a substantial portion of its drugstores. The company has proposed closing roughly 400 to 500 stores in bankruptcy. Its remaining operations will either be sold or taken over by other entities. Rite Aid operates more than 2,300 stores in the US. The U.S. Department of Labor has opened investigations into the meat companies Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms. This is to probe whether migrant children were used to clean their slaughterhouses. In April, the Biden administration sent a letter to meat companies including Tyson and Purdue. They asked the companies to examine their supply chains for evidence of child labor. Danish toy maker Lego has abandoned its efforts to remove oil-based plastics from its bricks. This is after finding that its new material led to higher carbon emissions. In 2020, Lego began efforts to replace its plastic bricks with sustainable materials by the end of the decade. They were looking for a material that gave the same color, shine and sound of its usual plastic bricks and was environment friendly. This search has now been abandoned. Tire manufacturing company Goodyear is planning to cut 700 jobs. It'll also sell about 100 retail stores in the Asia-Pacific region. The company said that the move is expected to improve the region's operating income by approximately $50 million. Goodyear says that the approved plan is part of its broader restructuring effort. This would be completed by the end of 2024. Reports say the U.S. antitrust regulator is expected to file a lawsuit against Amazon. The Federal Trade Commission could bring the suit as soon as Tuesday. The legal action has been expected after years of complaints that big tech companies abuse their dominance. Among other things, Amazon has been widely accused of buying off competitors to thwart competition. Samiran Gupta, the South Asia policy head of social media platform X, has reportedly resigned. Gupta was the most senior employee based in India at the company. He was responsible for content-related policy issues. Gupta's tenure at X, which was formerly known as Twitter, ends this month. Moving to sports news, we'll begin with updates from the ongoing Asian Games in China. Indian shooters Divyansh Singh Panwar, Aishwari Pratap Singh Tomar and Rudraksh Patil have created history at the Asiad. The trio smashed a world record in men's 10-meter air rifle team event. They won India's first gold medal at the Asian Games 2023. This is India's third medal in shooting at this 19th edition of the Games. India's Arjun Lal Jatt and Arvind Singh clinched a silver medal at a rowing event at the Asian Games. They won a silver in the men's lightweight double sculls final. The Indian duo had also finished 11th in the event during the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. India also won a thrilling bronze in the men's rowing event. The team of Jaswinder Singh, Bhim Singh, Puneet Kumar and Ashish powered through the final stretch to finish just 0.77 seconds behind China. Uzbekistan won gold, leading both China and India by more than 5 seconds. Indian singles tennis players Ankita Raina, Rutuja Bhosle and Ramkumar Ramanathan reached the pre-quarterfinal stage at the Asian Games. In her round of 32 match, Raina defeated Uzbekistan's Sabrina Olimjonova 6-0, 6-0. Bhosle beat Kazakhstan's Aruzhan Sagandyakova 7-6, 6-2. Ramanathan was given a walkover by his Tajik opponent who was unable to compete. The fireworks at the climax of the Asian Games opening ceremony in China were not real. Organizers ditched the traditional fireworks and used computer-generated pyrotechnics for the virtual display, citing environmental concerns. The virtual display was so convincing that some were fooled by what they saw on TV. However, China's decision to use CGI left some people outside the venue disappointed. Now for some updates from other competitions. In cricket, India beat Australia by 99 runs in the second ODI yesterday. Batting first, India amassed 399 with centuries from both Shubman Gill and Shreyas Gill. Rain interrupted the match and Australia were handed a lower target of 317 in 33 overs under the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern method. But Australia were all out for 217 in 28.2 overs. This means India have an unassailable lead in the three-match ODI series. Shubman Gill and Shardul Thakur will not be playing in the final ODI against Australia at Rajkot. The Indian team's management has decided to give them a break. MotoGP, the world's premier motorcycle racing championship, made its debut in India. VR46 Racing's Marco Bezzecchi won the race on his Ducati. The 24-year-old Italian won the 21-lap inaugural Indian Grand Prix in 36 minutes and 59 seconds. He bagged 25 points in front of an approximately 59,000 fans who had turned up despite the heat. Max Verstappen has helped Red Bull clinch the Formula One Constructors' Championship. He also moved towards his third straight driver's title by winning the Japanese Grand Prix on Sunday. Verstappen finished ahead of McLaren pair Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, who completed the podium. Verstappen could lift this year's F1 title at next month's Qatar Grand Prix. In football, Atletico Madrid ended its rival Real Madrid's perfect start on Sunday with a 3-1 win in their first derby of the season. Alvaro Morata scored twice and Antoine Griezmann once. Toni Kroos scored the lone goal for the visitors. The result left Catalan clubs Barcelona and Girona at the top of the standings with 16 points each from 6 matches. In tennis, Team World successfully defended its LAVER Cup title. Americans Ben Shelton and Francis Tiafoe beat Hubert Hurkacz and Andrei Rublev to help Team World hit the 13-point mark needed to defeat Team Europe. Team World won last year's tournament as well, which also marked the end of Swiss star Roger Federer's last professional appearance before retiring. In entertainment news, the Writers Guild of America, or WGA, may soon conclude its strike. After 5 days of negotiations, the WGA and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers have reached an agreement. The specifics of the deal will be disclosed once all legal requirements are finalized. The WGA members have been on strike since May 2nd, 2023. Grammy Award-winning singer Usher will be headlining next year's Super Bowl halftime show. An official announcement has been made confirming his performance in Las Vegas next year. The American singer said, and I quote, "It will be a performance of a lifetime." French rapper Mohamed Silla, also known as MHD, has been sentenced to 12 years in prison over murder charges. The 29-year-old rapper was found guilty of intentionally ramming his car into a man in Paris. The incident happened in 2018. This was reportedly a case of a gang war. MHD has maintained that he is not guilty and he has a 10-day window to file an appeal. The company behind the Golden Globes Awards has removed 3 members from its voting team. The 3 members allegedly violated the Code of Conduct. One of the 3 is an Egyptian journalist who has been accused of allegedly tweeting anti-Semitic messages in Arabic. This was after a report came out accusing her of extremism. Singer Beyoncé recently arranged a flight for one of her fans to attend her concert. The fan reportedly has cerebral palsy. He was denied entry onto a flight due to the height of his wheelchair. He shared his ordeal on a social media platform. The video went viral and Beyoncé's representatives reached out to him. The fan even got to meet Beyoncé after the concert. South Korean actor Lee Sang-yeob will tie the knot in March next year. Lee's agency confirmed that the bride-to-be is not a celebrity. The actor has kept his personal life under wraps. Lee started his career in the year 2007. He's known for his roles in Living Among the Rich and The Innocent Man. English actor Michelle Dockery has tied the knot with producer and musician Jasper Waller-Bridge. The ceremony took place at a church in London. Dockery's co-stars from Downton Abbey were also part of the ceremony. Dockery and Bridge have reportedly been in a relationship since 2019. American actor Kerry Washington recently revealed that she had undergone an abortion in her 20s. Washington said that she is sharing her story as she wants people to not feel ashamed of the word abortion. The 46-year-old actor wrote about her experience in detail in her memoir called Thicker Than Water. The actor is now a mother of 3 children. Media personalities Jennifer Aiden and Danielle Cabral have been suspended from the Real Housewives of New Jersey over a physical altercation. Reports say the incident happened while they were shooting for the show. Aiden allegedly threw a beverage at Cabral, leading to the physical fight. Reports also suggest that Aiden sustained minor bruises. The show's producers have initiated an investigation. Grammy Award winner Mike Henderson has died at the age of 70. Henderson's wife confirmed the news of his passing. Henderson was also the founder of the band The Steel Drivers. The Steel Drivers took to social media and said, "We are in shock as we have lost our original architect." The 70-year-old musician delivered several hits with American singer-songwriter Chris Stapleton.